Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Will and welcome to Copper Jacket TV. So today we've got something really exciting to talk about that could end up overturning all handgun rosters across the country. As a matter of fact, this would also prevent any new rosters from being formed in the future. You know, rosters are one of the most unconstitutional forms of gun control that exist in our country today. They are state-run and state-approved lists of items that should be protected by the Second Amendment, oftentimes changed from their original design to include things like loaded chamber indicators, magazine disconnects, and even microstamping, which really does not exist to scale as of this day. It is a way for the state to be able to control what you are allowed to own, and they might be done, so stick around to find out why. Now, real quick, if you believe that all rosters should be overturned, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join a community of like-minded people. Thumbs ups are always appreciated, and that little alarm bell will let you know when new videos come out. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here now. As somebody who was born and raised and lived in California for 42 years, I know a lot about rosters and the amount of control that it gives the state over your Second Amendment rights. It allows the state to dictate what you are allowed to own, and it's usually based on some type of ridiculous feature, like, again, microstamping, magazine disconnects, loaded chamber indicators, and things like that. Things that are not commonly found on the normal average model that is available to the rest of the country. Those are things that had to get worked in there in order to get onto, let's say, California or New York's roster. These are requirements that just simply don't exist anywhere else. If they don't have those features, then forget it. They're not going to pass the initial test, they're not going to make it onto the roster, and they're not going to be available to people in those states. And that happens quite often. People that live in states that have rosters are limited on what they're allowed to get. And in some cases, that means things that are less safe and less up to date than the models that are there. Some of California's roster is decades old. Well, it looks like Congress has finally taken notice of these unconstitutional rosters and decided to do something about it. We have a new bill that was just recently introduced by a Republican out of the state of California, Darrell Issa, and a Republican out of the state of New York, Elise Stefanik, and this bill is called the Modern Firearms Safety Act. Okay, so here's the press release from Darrell Issa's office. This will tell us everything we need to know about what this bill aims to do. Now, I should let you know that this bill was introduced one time before under the Biden administration, but it had no way of passing and it wasn't going to get signed. Now that it's been reintroduced, we actually do have a pathway forward. So we take a look here at this quote from Darrell Issa. It says, "For decades, the clear constitutional rights of law-abiding gun owners have been targeted for elimination, and handgun rosters are only one of the cynical schemes used to undermine the Second Amendment through the pretense of firearm safety. These rosters impose excessive and unnecessary requirements that actually restrict access to firearms equipped with the most up-to-date safety features, and that's why I'm proud to partner with my friend, Representative Stefanik, to defend sacred rights and end these unjust restrictions." Now, we even have a statement here from the NSSF, which is actually working to advance this bill, that says, "Gun control governors are far too ready and willing to sign into law anti-gun policies sent to their desks by legislatures that do not respect the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding Americans. This includes policies passed under the guise of safety that penalize responsible and lawful gun owners while doing nothing to improve community safety or hold criminals accountable. The Modern Firearms Safety Act, sponsored by Congressman Darrell Issa and House Republican Leadership Chairwoman Elise Stefanik, would ban states from enacting laws mandating unproven and unconstitutional infringements and would instead protect the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens and the highly regulated lawful business that provides the means necessary for citizens to exercise their right to keep and bear arms." Now, I think that kind of says it all. Rosters are unconstitutional. They impose a burden that you're not going to find anywhere in our nation's history and tradition. It is definitely not supported by the text of the Second Amendment, and so there is no way for a modern law like this to be upheld. There are lawsuits right now that exist out there that are trying to overturn rosters in pretty much every state that has one, but it would be nice to see Congress step up and say, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and protect people from these types of infringements. This is something that I think absolutely has to happen, but it's also something that needs to move forward, right? This is not something that we can have sitting committee for the next 6 months or sitting committee for the next year while we wait for the midterms to come around. This is something that needs to be acted on fast, and it needs to be acted on now. Now, just to prove how important and absolutely necessary it is that we see this bill pass, California actually passed a law that was signed by Gavin Newsom back in 2023 that will reimpose microstamping in 2028, and nothing will be allowed on the roster unless it has microstamping. There's not going to be anything that's going to be grandfathered on the roster. There's not going to be anything that's left there and left available. If it doesn't have that just imaginable technology, then it's not going to be available to people in California, which will eventually be the biggest ban that we have seen in any state across this country. So it is imperative that we see bills like this pass. We see the lawsuits get all the way up to the Supreme Court if they need be, but we need to see these things overturned. So again, this is very time sensitive. We're getting close to 2026, and in a couple years, that California law will kick in. So anyway, I wanted to let you guys know about that. It's big, but we still need to see what's going to happen. Congress has just been not great lately. So anyway, I want to let you know about that. The Modern Firearms Safety Act has been introduced. I believe it was introduced on July 24th. Thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and y'all have a great day.